Okay, thanks. Now. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you for doing that too. Appreciate it. It's important. We're gonna talk about a lot of important stuff. Is there anything to add to the agenda?
Just under other business, I'd like to add an additional meeting date in January.
Okay.
For another board meeting.
All right, minutes of December 4th, 2023. Small correction, is that? Okay.
Was it something about the restraint policy? That you said something that we didn't?
Can't find it.
Was it a typo or?
Lori.
It's, I can't. I read it,
All right.
yeah.
I started-
It was nothing major.
Okay. Otherwise,
I did.
we can always wait for this till next week.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it was.
I mean, I read through them, but I didn't put it in. Thing that, you know, don't know that see.
All right. So someone,
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes. That's
perfect. Second. All in favor of the minutes? Any opposed, abstentions? Perfect, thank you. Principals report.
Good evening.
No.
I have a fairly brief principals report tonight because of the budget conversation, but our enrollment is holding about the same, just under 400 students. Wanted to let you know about some school happenings. Our winter program started last Friday and it was a rocking good time, fantastic. The addition of pickleball and ping pong was very fun. And I wanted to take a moment to shout out our middle schoolers. We send our kindergarten through 8th graders off to all of these different settings. And I had at least 6 adults come back from the settings on Friday and say they were so impressed by the middle school behavior and they were kind to young kids and helping them skate and helping them ski and just sitting with them on the bus because our buses are so crowded. So I wanted to take a moment. I think it's really important to commend kids on their positive leadership. So thank you to the middle school students. Holiday shopping happened December for grades K through 5 with middle school helpers again, and that was a success. Thank you to Ladders for hosting us and to Sarah Sanborn for making that event happen. The K to 3 holiday concert happened the Thursday before vacation, extremely well attended. We ran out of programs and I wanted to thank Mary Boyle for the decorations for that event. The grades 4 through 8 winter concert is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. for the 4th and 5th graders and at 6:45 for the 6th through 8th graders. So we again do that split concert, which I think parents really appreciate. And I wanted to welcome again publicly our new art teacher, Tamara Mann, who started last week. She's working hard to get to know each child and to have them create art every visit into the art room. So welcome to, we're calling her Miss M. Not Miss Man, because that got very confusing for the younger kiddo. In the area of curriculum instruction and assessment, I wanted to update you that our PES students in grade 4 and grade 8 will participate in NAEP testing on January 31st and February 1st. That is the test known as the Nation's Report Card. And the federal government facilitates that testing. And schools get picked at random for that, and randomly, we seem to be picked every 2 years, so. We will host, they actually send people out to facilitate that
What
testing,
grade did you say that is?
4 and 8,
4 and 8.
and it's BLA and math testing.
Okay.
And for student shout outs, we wanted it to shout out Indy Cudahy in grade 3, Maria Marcroft Molinaro in grade 4, and Easton Minos in grade 4, and David Elderkin in grade 5, and Ainsley McDonald in grade 5 for being care award winners over the course of the last 2 months. So well done to all of those kiddos. And I raised my voice because some of their parents are here in the room, so. Wanted to shout out teacher Alyssa Greenler and her 6th grade students for their work on the energy workshop. They host energy, they are energy elves. They create games displaying principles of energy. And then the younger kids come and visit. So thank you to Mrs. Greenler and the 6th graders for that. And also Mrs. Greenler led the middle school service projects throughout our community in December. So we were able to support Ladders and the senior center and Whole Village and a number of other settings. So thank you to Mrs. Greenler. For parents and PTA, we had our meeting last Wednesday night, 6:30 here, but we will meet again in the first week of February. The PTA meets right here. All are welcome. And Kelly Carey would like to thank, and I would like to thank the Mask family. They donated Skeeta hats to the entire Nordic ski team. And they're very nice. So thank you to the Mask family for doing that. Facilities update, the scoreboards are in the gymnasium and working, and we have had an immense appreciation for that, both by visiting basketball teams and parents. So thank you to everyone involved with making that happen. Most of the gymnasium new wall pads were also put in over holiday break, and the south wing septic pipes were relined. It was quite interesting here over the Christmas break. They did have to pull an all-nighter in order for us to open school on time. So the septic lining was a little more extensive than we had originally planned. So we're glad that we got to open on time. That is all of the principals' report. I did want to let you know that Mrs. Carey is down at the representing Plymouth Elementary School at the hearing in town about the Highland Street work project. So we're dividing and conquering tonight. So she will give you an athletic update next month.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do you guys have any questions for Tommy about our principal's report? No? Perfect. Moving on. Privilege of the floor, number 1. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone that would like to? Yes, hi Jenny.
I just wanted to say, it always surprises me how very much my children enjoy that shopping day. So thank you to the school and to Ladders, because it was really special, and they went shopping for very specific people, and they really thought it out, and we were so worried we were gonna have it. You guys made it, have it. So thank you to you guys, and thank you to Ladders.
Thank you. Yes, hi Jason.
Hello. I'm not gonna stand up much, I'm not cool. Question, do we have, an alternative date for the concert that we get the predicted storm that we're expected to happen tomorrow?
No,
Okay.
stay tuned. It won't be Wednesday. It won't be Tuesday or Wednesday. So it would be we would wait a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for the winter program. I got the luxury to chaperone my kids, on the snow hill the other day. And as I told Tanya at PTA the other day, for someone from Arizona, the fact that this happens and my kids can learn how to ski is phenomenal and something I would never have expected. So I know that a lot of work goes into that. I want to say thank you to those who put that work in, because I know it's a lot. So one last question. I know we're tentatively working on the school calendar for next school year, is there a way to access that in some place I'm trying to find a family vacation, I'm trying to figure out what our breaks are.
So there has not been a draft
Okay,
made yet. That usually goes, the high school usually approves first, and then all the elementaries, so we can sync up together. So if there's siblings at each school.
thank you.
TBD,
Mhm.
TBD.
But typically, February vacation is the last week in February, then the last week in April.
That's what I thought, appreciate the knowledge.
But I will have to check that. There is a draft, I believe, on the high school website. If there's not, you can call my office and we'll get you a copy.
Yep. Oh, no, I'm not this organized. That's my email, so look at me.
All right, perfect. Is there anyone on Zoom that'd like to say anything? No, okay. And everyone here, good? All right, moving on to budget review.
Okay, so we have a lot to do tonight, but just to kind of recap what we did last month was the first draft. And like I said, it was very much in draft form. All your projects, your building projects go into the first draft, and anything that's just on the budget that we need to budget for each year. With that being said, we have had a lot of feedback about, I think folks got their tax bills and are concerned, especially in the town of Plymouth. So we're very mindful of that over this past month. So tonight, we're gonna come to you with some work that we've already done, Tanya and I, in regards to what we could look at as far as reductions, without having, as much impact on student learning and programs as possible. It is tough. I mean, the two big areas that were up was, one was just naturally the collective bargaining agreement, health insurance, special education costs. And I've said this at each one of our meetings, that special education costs is no longer just all special education in that line. So in the past 5 years, under that line, you will see foster care children that we're responsible for, homeless transportation under specialized transportation. Those two pieces have increased significantly. And we have seen an increase in needs, especially at the really young levels, as far as preschool. In kindergarten, we're seeing significant special education needs that we haven't seen in a while. So there has been a shift as far as Plymouth Elementary and the needs that are here, which is fine, but we are obligated to fund those, of course, as well. But at any rate, we're gonna go through what we have for suggestions or what you want to look at. And I think tonight from the board, if we can really get a sense of, by the end of tonight, where you want to move as far as what you're comfortable moving forward with into our next January meeting. Having that second January meeting can just firm up everything. It can get the numbers in, you can look at everything. But I think it's really important that it's a community budget. It's not Tanya and my budget. And, but sometimes some difficult choices have to be made, understanding all of that. So what we're gonna do first is, it's the same draft as before. And nothing's taken out, but I wanted to take you through, some of the appropriation reductions that you can take into consideration. We do have some extra copies if you want. Take a look. So if you look at the top, part of the handout, there's just a little
one?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
This is the handout we're looking
Yeah.
at. A little over $100,000 that you would have to reduce per percent, one whole percentage. So it's an easy kind of figure to work with. So we kind of put that up on the top. How much would it take to drop it to 6%, 5%, all the way down to 2%? And you can see it's pretty significant. You're not a small school, so the numbers are quite bigger. So it takes a lot more to get through that. So the first piece that we took, that we think you can take out of the budget are all your capital improvement projects that are scheduled right now. So it's a total of 104,000. So the 104,000 right now you have in your capital reserve account, which you've been putting money away. And so you have the funds where you don't have to increase taxes, is you can withdraw that money. You have about 210,000 right now in there. And you would withdraw 104,000 to cover all of your projects, and we would be specific to those projects. So it's any replacement equipment, anything else that you have in there, that was substantial, you could pull that right out, and we can put that in a warrant article for you.
That included the interior doors, the grease traps, new
Faucets.
faucets. That's really the, oh, and the drainage project.
Yeah.
And the primary wing.
Yeah.
Primary playground drainage.
Can I ask a historical question? So I'm kind of new on the town, I've only been 2 years. The capital reserves, when we started doing that, did we start doing that with the idea of having a big project? Like if we tap into that now, are we taking money away from some other bigger project that we need
So
money for in the long term?
I can answer that question, Stephanie. Originally, we started putting away extra money so that we had a roof project, that the roof has to get recoated every 10 to 12 years, and we were like, 20 years in that we needed to recoat the roof. So that year, the budget was very high to recoat the roof. So we put a warrant article in every year, essentially, that if there's money left over, so that we don't have to take it from raise the money, essentially, we have that money there. So I think we're on year 5 or 6. Five with the.
I think, in my opinion, because of the ESSER money, we in this building are in very good shape. So if we were looking at a major boiler project, it probably wouldn't be wise to take the money for that, but we have a brand new heating system in this building. In 2010 did a major remodel of this and have already done a lot of infrastructure work in this building. We bought all new furniture in 2010. So we are not in a situation where our capital improvement plan has, lots of big ticket items. I mean, it does in 10 years, yes. We would want to then build this back up again and be diligent, but in my opinion.
So what did you say, if the amount savings was 104 and we would have a balance in there of how much? Did you say?
So right now you have a 210,000, so you take out the 104, and that's
Okay.
what you have remaining. And then you
So-
still have the warrant article that you can put in
Okay,
your money again to replenish it. So that's the first piece. So that would get you down 104,000 in appropriations. The next piece is that we did have movement in out of district tuition. So we decreased that, whether a child moves or change in placement, whatever it might be. There are two related, 95,000 we could take out for out of district tuition, an additional 15,500 for special education transportation. Stop me if I start going too fast, it's too, okay. With occupational therapy, we're looking at a decrease of 5,000. And then we looked at just various places in the budget where so for instance, the new equipment. Typically, 6,000 is budgeted. We cut that in half for 3,000. You'll see that says purchase half the top cats, so that's for kids that are hearing impaired. And it's a sound amplifying system, I think you could say. It's put in every year at 6,000, so we would just hope, spend half that money on it for next year. One paraeducator would also be,
Instructional staff training first,
instructional staff training, so we did increase that by 10,000
in draft 1.
in draft 1, so we cut that out and just level funded it. That line is sometimes like a substitute line, so it varies. So it's just, you're taking that out with some risk that it might be, you know, overspent by a little bit at some point, but we just level funded that piece. One paraeducator. Supplies, so we just took out 5,000. And then number 9 is Chromebooks. So it's, do you want to discuss what
So
that is?
when we moved to, when COVID occurred, we moved to a 1-to-1. So every student in the building has a Chromebook assigned to them in their homeroom classroom. We reduced the number of new Chromebooks we would buy, and possibly, if you approved it, we would continue 1-to-1 for 3rd grade and up, but in the primary wing, we would stick with what we have and hope that we can have as many kids in the classrooms have 1-to-1, but it's possible that some of the kindergarten classrooms might be that our digital technology program comes in on a cart for those classrooms instead. We might do something different at that age. So,
So we put the subtotal there because those are the in order of what our recommendations would be for that first round of cuts. Beyond that, I think you really have to have a discussion. Because if you're gonna cut it farther than that, you're really cutting into student programming. One
That's
would
number
be,
9.
what's that?
That's number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first piece, you know, what we look at is what's required for classes, because really, that's the piece, you know, as far as the minimum standards go. So any additional teachers or programs above and beyond what's required is the only thing we could really recommend. So the first piece was a reading teacher that was initially funded by the ESSER grant this year. So that funding is going away. Okay, so it's a second reading intervention teacher. It's a highly valued teacher. There is as you know, new reading curriculum. Really the focus has been around literacy here and upping that piece. So if we don't want to see that position to go, because I think it's very valuable, but it's the one it was a year position, and it is an additional position to any other position.
Can I, right now, the 2 reading specialists, what grades are they covering?
one covers K-3, and
Yeah.
one does 4th, 5th, and 7th.
And co-op.
Based on need. It's based on need.
And about how many children are impacted, do you think, are served by that second reading teacher?
I would estimate about 35.
And which position would be, if we didn't fund this, which one of those?
The- Well, the person or the position that is funded for 4th, 5th, and 7th is the grant funded position.
And as far as, it's been going on for
2 years. We've actually had that position for 2 years.
How-
There has been a positive impact. We have seen growth, without a doubt. In reading fluency and spelling. So absolutely, it has made an impact.
Can you remind us of what percent, I remember you gave us a while back, the percent of children that are below the grade level for reading?
Our literacy achievement is 56% currently, and has been for a very, very long time in this building. That's going back at least 10 years that I've looked at the data, so.
So this, even though you see,
We did not see the big,
improvement, but it hasn't changed those numbers.
well, I think that, well, 2 different things.
Okay,
COVID occurred,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you know, that's a piece of what's going on, without a doubt. And I think it's not the type of work that we're doing, the type of work we're doing around science of reading is gonna have a long-term impact for this building. But we are not gonna see that impact within the first 6 months or the first year. It's going to take us you know, doing that work diligently with focus, retuning what we're doing in the classroom every day, making sure we're seeing kids 3 to 5 days a week. I mean, it's big work, and this building has 400 kids, so it's,
And another question I have is we approved some tutors. And are they doing reading assistance also?
so we have 3 high impact tutors in the building, and they are paid through a grant. They come in 1 hour a day, so they're not full-time employees, they're
Right.
5 hours a week, or 3 hours a week, depending on their availability. And they support what we're calling our walk to read, or what I need block in the kindergarten, first grade and second grade. So again, all of the research that's been done over the course of the last 25 years shows that that preventive work in the preschool, kindergarten, first grade and second grade is the place to put your energy into reading. So we are, that, some people think I'm extremely focused on that area, and maybe overly so, but I don't think so.
Are we, just a clarification, are we gonna go through each of them and then double back here?
And then double back to see what you want to do. I mean, the next piece is just taking out, some software, so that's intervention software.
Well, it is, but yes, and, that maybe could go, actually, now that I'm looking at this list right now, because this is, that maybe could go higher on the list.
So are you not using MobiMax anymore?
We are using MobiMax.
Okay, so that would remove it or
Yes, it would remove it.
okay.
MobiMax is for student use or?
Student use, it for fact fluency, and, you can assign different math activities to kiddos and different
And
reading.
what grades are using MobiMax?
Sporadically between 3rd through 8th.
Not for math, is MobiMax?
No.
Yeah, MobiMax.
Oh,
is math.
for math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The other-
Aperture software, that's for teachers? Is that
That's
right?
for teachers. That is a program we use to support social emotional learning.
So the next piece was voted in on a warrant article several years ago. And that was to supplement the after-school program through Parks and Rec, in addition to, the Parks and Rec split that you already have. So 30,000 a year goes to help offset costs for the after-school program from the Parks and Rec. So that's optional. It's not ideal. None of these are ideal, but it's something.
So can you explain to me what they get in that specific after-school program? Because don't we have something else too? Or is it before school?
We have a program called ASK, which is academically supporting kids, and that is before school, 5 days a week
Okay,
from 7:30 to 8:30. And that is funded through a grant
okay,
and staffed by PES employees.
okay.
The after-school program is run by the recreation department, and that is Monday through Thursday, from 3 to 4:15.
Did those hours change? 'Cause
It-
it used to go till 5, right?
Yeah, it used to go to 5,
It used to be 5 days a week, and it went until 5.
and now it's club-based versus a traditional after-school program.
What does that
So,
mean?
so that means that Monday, kids in K through 3 can do Lego club or, baking. There's different options.
From my
on
understanding, it's
different days.
completely a recreation model.
Yeah.
So we
And
used to do
parents
like
say?
half homework club, half something else,
Mhm.
but it has shifted.
I remember when this was first put on a warrant article, I think it was my second year on the board. And most people were in favor of it because yes, it was an after-school program, but it also assisted working parents to be able to get home and pick their kids up in time to get dinner, Does the 4:15 end time still serve that purpose for folks? That seems awful early to me. Seeing a lot of people shaking their heads,
I-
so.
I think it's changed. I think the philosophy has changed. It's much more of a recreation philosophy at this point. And there are definitely our partners. The recreation department is our partners, and we, I think, enjoy housing them and having that staff here. I think it's a mutually beneficial. I think it keeps kids safe. I think there are lots of great things about it. It's very creative. But it is a change over the course of the last 10 or so years.
If that was cut from the budget, I mean, I guess it's hard to say because, Park and Rec isn't here, right? But how would they make up the difference in the budget? Would they just pass it on to parents? Would be my concern,
Right.
right?
I guess I still don't understand why it's in our budget and not their budget.
So-
That we voted to give them the support. It isn't their whole budget, it's just part of the, at least maybe it's a portion of it.
I think it's like subsidizing.
Yeah, it happens, so in several of our elementary schools, it's not Parks and Rec, it could be Adapt, or we have the Boys and Girls Club at Holderness, and each board gives some money towards it to help sustain the program.
But an option would be to take it out of our budget and put
Take
it
it
back
out,
onto a
reduce it.
call. Oh, yeah,
I wouldn't
But
close the comments.
we're not into comments yet.
yeah. So that would be another option, is we could remove it from our budget and put it back on a warrant. article. So,
And there's no grant money for something like that at all.
You can explore grant monies, but it's not guaranteed, of course.
Yeah.
So,
I would just worry taking it out of our budget that if the program would either cut staff or not cut programming here. I mean, I think it'd be a real loss to our school to have them in the building, right? I think as a parent, especially with young children, it's really nice having that programming in the building.
so moving on to, the other pieces is you have a retirement this year, so you can reduce by eliminating that replacement. That obviously has significant impact to student learning, class sizes go up. And so that would be the response to that piece.
But that's a fourth grade, right?
But teaching assignments are not included in the budgeting,
Right.
so
Right.
that would be a classroom teacher. We did include that position in our draft one of the budget. But it's worth considering. There's not, especially, as you know, through the course of the last number of budgets, we have reduced the number of teachers through retirement in this building. It is, we have a fluctuating population. We have some grades that have 59, 58, 59 kids, but we also have a number of grades where they're around 39, 40, 42. So we have, felt more comfortable making that decision when there's a retirement at hand.
Then as you move down, we took some out of field trips, as far as transportation, busing. Looking at co-curricular athletics. As you move down, now you're getting pretty deep here. I mean, if you're gonna go this low, you do really cut into program. Then you start looking at other programs like the world language piece. And then the health insurance, that just is buried because it's personally identifiable, so it kind of connects to some of those other numbers there.
Can we circle back to the world language position? That's a retirement, and so you have two numbers there. One is not to replace it or to do 50%.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you really wanted to go that, that much in reductions, instead of completely eliminating it, you can reduce the percentage of it.
In the world language position, how many grades are impacted by that position? That's K through 8?
That is K through 8, so that position is part of our unified arts program. And I think Plymouth has a long history of having a very diverse and vigorous unified arts programming. And every kindergartner through 7th grade sees that person one time a week. And then in 8th grade, we offer Algebra 1 for credit.
Or Spanish one.
A Spanish one. What did I say? Yes, yes, Spanish
how
one,
often do they get
Spanish
to do
one. We also have 3 students this year who are taking French 1 through VLAX. They were interested in French, so we have 3 students choose to do that instead.
And if you were to reduce that salary to that position to a 50% position, they would still be meeting the needs of K through 8, or would just be
No,
middle school?
we would need to change that position, change that, and the scheduling committee would need to look at it. I need to be very clear with everyone that as a part of the collective bargaining agreement, every full-time teacher gets 5 prep blocks a week, 1 a week, or 1 a day for prep, plus 3 PLC blocks a week, which is called professional learning community blocks, where we have team meetings or IEP meetings, or where professionals sit and confer on the things they need to do. We are able to meet that CBA requirement in part because of the diverse unified arts programming that we offer to students. So it's this balance of the schedule and
The number of
and the number of teachers. So the scheduling committee would need to look very closely as to what we would need in order to meet the CBA. And get very creative if we were going that far down this list. Which is one of the reasons we would need, if that's how far we're going down, I need to meet with the scheduling committee 2 or 3 times in the next 2 weeks, so. So, can I just summarize a little bit? I just want to say out loud to you, I think it's important for you to think about the percentage increase that you're comfortable with, and for us to have a conversation tonight about that, because that's some guidance around that first helps the rest of the conversation about the individual things on this list. So, a 5% increase, a 4% increase, a 3%, 2, I mean, where are you all comfortable? And asking any questions, obviously, as well, but giving us some guidance in that regard.
There is one other piece that's not on this, and Amy and I are in the midst of negotiating. For close to closing, so we need to have at least a idea of how much that's gonna add
For the support staff.
to the support staff.
And then, Dan is here tonight as another tool, is the revenue, piece that you can use after we talk about appropriations, so.
So for me, personally, I never want to see a teacher position be cut. Reality is, you have to do something somewhere. So I would be happy between a 4 and a 5% increase in the budget, personally. That's what I would like to see. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, but that's what I would like to see. I feel like that's
I think it's important not to cut core programming,
right.
right? I think. I think that's really important that we continue to provide an environment that supports our teachers to really meet the needs of our kids. Right, and we don't want to, we really don't know what like the town situation isn't really impacted. It wasn't caused by us, right?
Right.
And then kids to suffer because of that.
Which I agree with, but I do think we have to look at the enrollment also, and, every year we keep increasing, so I just think we have to be a little bit frugal and look at some of this stuff, but that's not everything, but.
If you look at our board priorities on the bottom, it's like be cognizant of the budget and the tax rate, and the second one is recognized for achievement for all students, so it's the crux of those two.
It's a balance, yeah.
Yeah,
looking at that, even though you're right, Stephanie, the town issue isn't at a school, but we're tied to it because we're asking the same people for tax money.
The town, I did contact the, from manager, and he did say the town's budget is down $800,000 for next year, so. I still think we could be in that position where they go over budget next year.
And without like saying exactly for the support staff, but I mean, is that gonna be an increase of another 50,000 or like a bulk, like just a range of what you're?
So
it
that's
might be.
something we can't talk about
You can't
until,
No, okay. Just
no,
that.
but it will be a 3-year, it will be a 3-year contract. So,
But looking at the first year increase with the impact.
Right.
You have to factor. it to
Right.
some extent.
Cause I mean, I know that we're having great difficulty getting many support staff, so I definitely wanna support. We need to support. You know, getting that CBA to a point where we can attract support staff to. So people who aren't teachers are trying to cover some of that additional work. So I would definitely wanna support that part. And not be feeling like we're over the top because of it, so. But we don't know that number yet, so it's gonna be hard to.
and I would be
Decide.
comfortable, you know, taking, since we have the money in our capital improvement, taking the 104,000 out of that to cover that, savings. I think that's a great idea. The money's there, that's what it's for. So it makes sense to me to make that withdrawal to cover that 104. I think, you know, 1 through 9 makes sense to do that.
If we did look at 1 through 9 as a cut, you mean, what decrease in percentage would that be? We know that.
Right around 5.
Puts us, you know, at a reasonable spot. For me.
Now,
Before
one of
it's-
them, the occupational therapy, cutting that, that's not gonna cut, additional services to children?
Well, it can just be a change in caseload too.
Okay, so some of that is,
Special ed director should know what the numbers are and adjust it based on what they know. from numbers.
so some of that is coming from the change in the number of expected kids that we have, okay.
So 5-ish%. That's what.
Yeah, I do.
You think that's what?
It's too high.
5%.
I agree because it, like I say, we're still don't.
If we go
support
into
that.
this,
What about
there's a
the,
5% increase.
What about the retained fund balance?
Well, I think Dan is here,
I wonder
So-
about that too.
we can talk a little bit about that. So there's a memo in front of you that talks about what you have for the retained fund balance at the end. That's guaranteed. It's not projected, it's guaranteed.
What was retained at the end of the last fiscal year, so it's sitting off there on the side, 234,000.
Is it this paper?
It looks like this.
That's the.
Sorry.
Oh, the number. Oh, benefits. Oh.
So when you say that there's the 234,000, that's the retained balance from the end of the previous fiscal year, is that what we rolled over into this year's budget?
No.
No.
That's what's, it's called the retained fund balance, and it's I'm gonna call it a bucket of money on the side of everything, right? That's money that could be used this year if an emergency expenditure was necessary, for example, if you didn't have funds in the existing budget to pay for it. It could be used if you wanted to vote to commit a portion of it to be a revenue next year. And by that, what would happen on the revenue page, which is the last page of your budget package, the first page Fran held up. The top right corner of that page,
That's one.
it says 0,
Yeah.
right? So you could vote a portion of that 234,000 to be a revenue in the fall, and it would go into that top right box, which says 0 right now, and thereby by additional revenue this coming year, reducing the net assessment that gets built into the tax rate this coming fall.
And are we limited by the amount that we can do?
You're limited by the amount that you can continue to retain. You could
Retain.
commit any portion of the existing fund balance, retained fund balance, to being a revenue.
So historically, you've not put all of it there at this point in the budget process. You've put a portion of it there.
And that makes sense to do in the event that an out-of-district student comes in. And we
And you
need
can always
the
consider at
funds.
the end of the year, if the funds are there, put it all
So we,
Then what's the leftover part? The 85,000?
So what that speaks to is every year the DRA is gonna recalculate what your maximum amount to be retained is. And I believe what you're referring to, I don't have that number in front of me, sir, is how much more could, if that, so the number is actually gonna be higher this year by about $85,000, right? So as we work toward the end of this school year, we already know what, if any, portion of the current retained fund balance is left, because you haven't committed all of it to the revenue in the fall. And when we have a better handle on how this year's budget is going to sort out, the board will have the opportunity to decide how much they want to retain at the end of this year going into next year. And that's the new capacity is going to be a higher number.
so we could take half of the retained 204.
234.
Oh, 230.
It's at 234 and we were at 5%, $100,000 brought it over, bring it down to about 4%. Right? Does that still seem too high? 4%?
The only.
They're,
the only
they're two
flyer-
different
yeah.
piles of money though,
Yeah.
revenue and appropriations. And that 5% is based just on the increase in appropriations, not in the revenue side of the budget. So we would need to you agree on how much, or you would need to agree on how much you want to apply to the revenue side. And then make a decision about what percentage you're comfortable with, and then let us run the numbers.
Got it.
Right, because
Because it's still gonna be an increase in the budget, right? I get it. I get it.
Because we don't make, these are just proposed things that you have, like, we don't have control of. which
No,
one you
it can
actually
change.
end up doing.
No, for instance, that you've lost, Plymouth has lost revenue and it's projected to lose substantial revenue for next year. One is that you used to split the English language learner teacher with other districts, but there's so many, the caseload has increased significantly in Plymouth that person is dedicated to just Plymouth Elementary School, so you're no longer receiving funding from the other schools. Same with tuition. You know, you have the behavior programs that are here where we collect tuition. And once a student is discharged from that, you no longer have the tuition. So that is happening. There's less tuition for next year from out of district.
We also have private pay, a
Mhm.
couple of private pay students who, and those students are graduating or predicted to not be coming back. So we are down in revenue. Because we do a really good job. I will feel like I want to say out loud in this room though.
So what about 3%?
3%, you'd have to get another a little over $200,000 to get. So you'd have to go deeper into that list.
Yeah.
You have to make this decision tonight.
You do,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I know,
Yes.
it's not easy, I know that, but
Hmm.
That would be clear, Fran, your budget hearing is coming up in February,
Right.
and you need, at some point, you need to vote a number to the budget, hearing, right?
Yeah.
And you can always change it after the budget hearing.
And we're gonna have one more January meeting, but it's just to review final document before the hearing. So we can get whatever was agreed on tonight in front of the board.
Do you wanna shift up your privilege of the floor a little bit and see if anybody has any ideas?
It's a great idea, Sarah.
Oh, good, we don't think for
So we'll move up our privilege of the floor to see if anyone has some other creative ideas.
Or maybe some money in your pocket.
Yeah, that wants to donate to the school. Also accepting that. Yes, Bill.
So, if I recall correctly, the first reading teacher was only added a few years ago, and the second reading teacher has been grant funded exclusively since then. So I don't think the board ever had to vote to fund a second reading teacher position. That
Correct.
would be without grant funding, that would be the next level consideration of time. And then I think you really could move the after school program to a warrant article. I mean, that would get you 110 on top or 111,000 on top of what you've got now.
So the cuts are in order of our priority is as well, so.
I was gonna use the computer software though, but it seems like the after school program, I mean, in my mind, I mean, the after school program could go to a warrant article and still fund the computer software if necessary. That's just my thought.
Thank you. Jason.
So as, a parent who's benefited from being additional reading teacher, it would be disheartening to see that position go. I understand, as Bill pointed out, it was not a board approved position in the first place, but I have two fourth graders who are seeing that reading specialist, and the gains they have made have been significant in their reading ability, and this is coming from someone who's, I'm a former K-12 teacher myself, my wife's an English teacher herself. We read to our children quite often, we're doing all the right things at home, but I can tell you the gains that they're seeing from that reading specialist is very important, and I'm, just like any member of this community, very budget conscious and understand that things increase and our bells are all tightening, but I think that's one benefit that we're seeing. I do agree with Bill in regards to a warrant article for the after school program. As Frank had pointed out, it was going to 5 at one point, and I'm thankfully at a point in my life where I'm home and I work from home, and kids get off the bus and I'm there and whatnot. It was disheartening to see it cut because they were participating in the after school program prior to this year, and it used to go till 5, and that was a good time for parents to pick them up, and it's cut down to 4 o'clock, and then, but then also like Amy was pointing out, they got into more of a club-based fashion. So unless you want to send your kids to the Lego Club on Monday, it's not as beneficial as it used to be. And so at this point, I would be okay seeing that going to a warrant article, as opposed to the blanket program like it was before, where they would come, the first half would be spent for doing homework and getting some academic help, and then the latter half of the program till 5 o'clock was recreation, playtime, and whatnot. So I don't see our $30,000 going as far as it used to be for the parents of the school who are utilizing that program. The world language position, I would hate to see cut also. My kids are learning, a foreign language, and coming from Arizona where schools aren't funded nearly as well. And Ms. Orlando talked about the release program. I talked to my mother-in-law, who's a retired kindergarten teacher from Arizona, and the fact that our kids get specials every day of the week blows her mind, because in Arizona, they get a special one day a week. And that puts an extra burden on her as a teacher, because she doesn't get that release time that our teachers have collectively bargained. And we all know that this leads to more instructor burnout. And so, well, as Fran and Stephanie pointed out, cutting teaching positions are a difficult position to make. And so I know they're low on our list, but I would hate to see both those positions leave this budget.
Yes.
Calibrate, I would just like to say that the second reading teacher position, you know, we're doing such a huge shift in the entire district to focus on literacy, and teachers are using tons of their professional development in that, and then I think cutting that second position would send quite the opposite message as to what we're trying to achieve in this school and, you know, across the district.
Yes, Mel.
Couple of questions, first, and I'll say them underneath it, 17, it says the health insurance, it says it's combined 2, 9, 12, and 15. I'm not sure if the priority order is.
Oh, it changed.
Okay, that's.
I kept noticing. Yep. It's all staff, it's all the staffing positions.
Yeah, take us
Thank
to, right?
And then secondly, a little bit of explanation as to why the prioritization specifically from 10 on, for instance, as an example, I agree with Phil in that Moby Max is an easy keep, in my opinion, whereas the after school program, and again, similar to Jason, my kids all benefited from it, but it has changed. And it, at 4 o'clock pickup isn't as, if you're a working parent, which I'm blessed, but at the same time, for those that aren't, it isn't as helpful. And so I guess, and some of these other things, in order to keep, say, 10, the second reading, even if it's smaller gains as far as savings, I see things like 14 and 15 being approachable to me, something that I consider before a big cut. It might be a smaller minimal gain, but it's still some savings, and especially once you add them all up.
This list changed as recently as 2 hours ago. It's priority list, those numbers.
Make a motion
So-
to shift
So,
the
just so you know,
indicators to the bottom.
yes, I appreciate your feedback and don't disagree with anything.
Yes.
I think that too. I think, the people should be cut last. And I'm appreciating the difficulty of this task because it's all important. Parents do need after-school care. Is that the school's responsibility? Perhaps not, I don't know. Some kids never get opportunities to leave Plymouth. So those field trips to those kids are, you know, monumentally important. I can't even believe I'm gonna say this because I believe so much in unified arts and I believe in the world languages, but if I had to choose between a reading teacher and a world languages teacher, the impacts of poor literacy over a lifetime are much more well studied, probably, I'm guessing. I don't know if there's any research on what the lack of world knowledge acumen, language acumen does over a lifetime, but I have read quite a bit about what poor literacy does over a lifetime. And it's not just a school question, it's a community question. It's what supports our entire community to be productive, communicative, literate, knowledgeable community people. So I say stick with the better reading interventions and qualified and adequate staff. I know how busy those ladies are also all day long. They're probably not getting the preps. Those types of interventionists do not take the preps because they're seeing their revolving door with kids all day long. They probably don't eat lunch.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to point out that I don't know how much you follow all the other budgets that are happening, because, I mean, we all know how the town reassessment impacted our taxes, and the sticker shock there. The high school budget is increasing, the impact to the Plymouth town is 3.5% increase there. And the town just had their last budget committee meeting, so we'll be hearing from them soon on what their impact is, but as you said, Stephanie, they're working really hard to keep it level funded, but that's still, we're still, as a town, really hurting. And there are some places that we have no control over. Special education is really a gut punch there. And as we all know, we want to do the best that we can for children, but I also want to point out that the more money that you're taking out of parents' pockets is also impacting the children in significant ways. Like, everybody's household budget is changing because groceries cost more and taxes cost more. And so I just want you to keep in mind that you might say, no, we need to keep this at 5%, but that 5% might impact those kids in a different way directly in their household. So I would feel so much more comfortable, 3.5 if you really need to get it that high, but like, we're all feeling a lot of anxiety about all the budgets and all the taxes.
Thank you. Sarah.
I just want to clarify that the rec department is open till the clubs are till. I know that's a change from the 5 o'clock, but it's not. It's not 4:15. It's 4.
And
Is there any comments on?
Amy, we have somebody else here.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jenny.
So I just want to make it very clear that I don't agree with what I'm about to say, but I feel like it's needed to be said. So I just want to make that very, very clear. I also want to say that as far as I know, we are very blessed to have smaller class sizes in the realm of what is considered small class sizes. If I am correct in that.
Yeah.
So while I do not want to lose teachers, and I'm looking at the group over there, I want to make it very clear that I know, they are, I am just being a double advocate that we do have smaller class sizes and we are blessed with that, but what Sarah said is very true. I mean, thousands of dollars our taxes have already changed. And it's not going to get better. And I also am wholeheartedly in favor of the capital reserves funds doing their job and helping us out. So there you go. Just wanted to say those things.
Yes, Bill.
One more question. If number 13, a classroom homeroom position was eliminated and you shifted teachers around, what would be the largest class size in the class that had the fewest teachers? Do you have a good idea of where your enrollment is per class and you know, which classes might end up with two teachers?
20 and 21.
20 and 21. And is that in the below 4th grade or is that above 4th grade? Well, there's a cutoff. Is it 3rd grade?
You mean for the state standards?
Yeah, yeah. The state standards.
The recommendation, I think, is 3rd grade and below. We are below the recommendation across the board.
But if there was one class, that was a one. Yeah.
I'm gonna request that I put my parent and taxpayer hat on for one moment, which obviously I understand I cannot divorce myself of my role. But I will say that I have 3 kids who came through this building, 2 of whom had class sizes of 20, 21, for 9 years as they came through here. So it is only in recent history that our class sizes have been as small as they have been in the last, but
the needs of the children have changed.
so, and that's where I
And
have,
that's
and I will say, the needs of our
Significant.
youngest children in this building
are significant.
are significantly different than they have been.
It's a different,
I would be reluctant to recommend eliminating the position unless there was a event.
Right, yes.
I agree with Phil, at least semi-concerned with the devil's advocate of Jenny here. Concur with her, and the fact that we are truly blessed to have the small class sizes, and I know when I was teaching in Washington DC, I would have class sizes upwards of 30 kids in a class. And so when I walked in here, you know, I will be frank, my move, partially why I accepted my move to Plymouth was to get into small class sizes. I remember when I met with former Principal Flynn, and she told me the average class size was 15, I was blown away. Because of that same year when we were looking at enrolling our children in classes in Arizona, it was upwards of 25 to 30 kids in the class. So as a parent and former educator, to hear that class sizes around 20 could happen, I even as a former educator myself, I don't find that completely absurd. I actually find absurd in a good way that we have class sizes at 15. And so one of the reasons ways we cut and work in our budget means increases our class sizes to 20 or 21 kids. As a parent, as a former educator myself, I don't think that's a bad trade.
One question, yeah, we're so trained that I'm okay as well, when I stay for day behind me. Like stand up. But is the after school program, was it any of that parent paid or is it all free? That is.
It's parent.
Okay,
I think it was upwards of $200 a month per child.
Well, over that, yeah.
Yeah, it was around $200 a month per child when we were in it last year, when my kids were in it last year.
Which is pretty low.
Which is very low.
It's, yeah, that is also, once again, that is also low. But with the ever changing of the program, going through the club phase and not just general associated with the school and getting extra help. I once again question the $30,000 that we are funding for it, as since it's going to more club phase, it's not going to be accessible for all students of Plymouth. And so for that one, I would be okay with going to a more article or going more into parent funding in order to associate with that program.
And I think it's just to piggyback on that, I think it's really that 30,000 may definitely realistically have an impact for them, but it's not their majority of their funding. Yeah.
I mean, there's more could be parent funded maybe or something like that. I don't know. There were a couple of that. And then,
Can you go more in the audience here?
oh, I have one more in the audience, yes.
Just, and I just wanted to point out, I did a quick tally. I don't know if anybody else already did this, but it's about just under 330,000 savings if all teachers were kept, all the three listed that you have. But then I just picked one, the one in the middle, 81. That, and assuming that there was with the health insurance, I just pulled out 30,000 because I figured it was about split three ways.
There's a para educator, there's a support staff position in that as well, so it's 4 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even if you took out all those and lost one of the teachers, it would bring it down into the 3.5% to 4%. But without any of that, you still bring it down somewhere.
So I'm wondering if we, did we
Get the comments from the.
Yeah, and
Zoom first.
yeah, it says
Deliberate.
an hour and a half is better than no time at all as a working parents. Most schools do provide an aftercare program for children.
That's around the after school program.
Yeah.
And being in the budget. So it sounds like they're in support of keeping that happening.
Is there any other comments on Zoom? All right, we're gonna bring it back. What were you gonna say, Fran?
Just throwing this out there. As, to look at decreasing, $380 thousand, and it's up to the administration to come back with where that money,
That's what our
I mean, it
second,
wouldn't be, you know,
that's what our second meeting's. Right, is that we should vote on a percentage tonight.
I'm just thinking in amount, no?
And then.
300.
A percentage is a nice place to,
I just don't know what 380 is in a percentile.
I heard from the audience, 3 to 3.5% as a max. No, meeting was at 5. That was probably in 4 and 5.
I would go closer to 3 too, given the outstanding support that we still have to figure out.
That's really good.
That's my biggest fear, the unknown.
So a 3%, between 3 and 3.5%,
We say 3.5.
3.5.
Let's give them a range, 3,
3,
3.5.
3,
Like
3
a
to
lot of
3.5.
movement if I know, but if you have a, you know, now all of a sudden you've got a staff thing and you're like, oh, we can't do that or whatever.
Yeah, and I would support, putting the after-school program on a warrant article.
I think, so I
I
wanna be
agree.
clear, we can absolutely find the funding, you know which direction we're gonna go in based on the list that we've already kind of moved around, which with, you know, maybe we move the moving max, that some of the smaller items somewhere else, but to get down that far, we're gonna have to look at that piece and see if our priorities are the same, knowing that we value all the positions, but you know, I think from what I hear at the SAU office is that, you know, we really do support the schools, but it just keeps on going up and up and up, and
Right.
something's gotta give. And I don't think it's an easy conversation to have at all, because I know Tanya and I support all of it, you know?
But we
Um,
have also
Mhm.
put the money in for the support things that are needed too, like we didn't, you know, there's a lot of support within the budget that isn't being cut, so I do think that there is support there. I mean, it's not
Absolutely.
like,
and I
Cutting
think
everything
it,
out.
I think it's important to say out loud, the people in this building feel supported by this
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
I mean, we have a beautiful, stunningly beautiful building. I mean, this building is so well cared for and well kept, and, you know, if, you know, there's something that needs to get done, this community has supported this building and I feel comfortable saying universally that every person in this building feels supported. So that's not what this conversation is about in any way, shape or form. It's simply about what we can,
And
like
it is-
ask
and
ask
it-
our neighbors.
And it is easier to not fund a position when someone's retiring versus hiring for that position and then having to cut a position.
and
That's
we had
already
a
here.
grant position that there's no longer grant money for, so that was never even, as I think somebody pointed out, it was not ever in the budget, it was a grant funded position, so you're going from a grant funded, now you're gonna put it in there.
You know, the other piece is, we did hear the feedback, so I think we'll definitely
Yeah.
take that into consideration, because it is a community decision.
Yeah.
Right, and
About the
ultimately,
values.
it needs to be voted on
Right.
by the town people, so.
The only, so I would ask to be a little bit more clear in your percentage that you'd like us to come back with. And then the other piece I would ask is that if you have consensus about the after-school program moving to a warrant article, then that would be helpful, because you do have to vote on the warrant articles. And then that's already taken out. But that's up to you.
I would move to put, second Amy's to put the after-school program on a warrant. And also my number would be 3%, to budget to 3%. We can always, if we get it and the cuts are too deep, we can always add back in. But I'd like to see what that number looks like by the January, or whatever meeting we have next.
Yeah.
We may have a better idea. See it at this point.
I agree with that.
Really don't wanna cut the after school program. I think we are faced with really tough decisions. Right, so,
We're not cutting it,
no.
choosing to put the funding on the warrant. On the side if they want to do it, and then
Yeah.
decide how they. Doesn't pass.
So, yes, Dan,
I'm gonna make it, if you don't mind, Frank, I see make a small correction, something you may have just said.
Okay.
Which is that if the warrant article fails, you choose another way to fund it.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
They can choose how to get funded if the board.
They,
okay,
Got it. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
so Fran and Frank are at a 3. What do you at, Stephanie?
I'd be much more comfortable with 3.5.
even knowing that we have the support staff, that's gonna jump it up, that could jump it up a half.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
I know,
It's not an easy decision.
no,
There's no right answer. You know, it's difficult, for sure.
where do you, it's hard.
I'm at 3,
3.
3-ish.
Three in the.
3,
Well, I think the other part too, Stephanie. is we can still have this.
It's pretty substantial, guys.
yeah,
Is-
it is.
Get back to high school, 3.56.
What's that?
You get back to high school, 3.56.
I know, but we still, if we go to 3, we still have that other 0.5%
Or whatever.
for the support staff, whatever comes in there.
But is the
Maybe.
support staff, that would be on a warrant article, no?
Yes,
Yeah, it is, right?
But we would discuss the impact. It will include the impact for year 1, year 2, year 3.
Right, okay.
That was about whatever agreed upon in the CBA negotiations for one on one.
correct.
Yes.
This was a rough year for
Yeah. So,
Are you,
3,
Yes.
Do we make a motion? Or do we just
we
say,
have to-
Yeah, I would ask you to make a motion if that's.
I make a
correct.
motion for 3%.
all in favor of a 3%. Yeah, for budgeting. Yeah. Any nay? Okay, 3
And then the after-school program,
on a warrant article.
that was,
Someone need to make a motion for that too. Oh, yeah. Someone second that? Can I?
second, usually you vote, the chair
Usually
votes
do.
last, but.
I'll second it, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of moving the Parks and Rec school budget to a warrant article?
And,
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay,
do we have to motion to move somebody within fund balance?
Yeah, the other piece you can look at tonight is moving a portion of it now, seeing what it looks like with the 3 that Tanya and I put together.
It sounds like that might just offset some of our decreases in revenue. So we're not really gonna see as much of the benefit from that as we hope.
Correct,
Okay.
is the reality.
So whatever we're saying, it'll go from, this will go from 0 to whatever amount we choose.
Right.
Which is 140,000.
100.
The top right corner number,
115,000.
under 24, 25 projected. Right, top right corner,
Yes,
where it's zeros right now,
yes,
whatever number you vote, commit from last year's retained fund balance. We go into that box with the revenue for next year.
last year it was 293,
That's
109.
That's what was committed from the FY 22
Right.
retained funds to be a revenue in the current year.
It's the 234, 248.
That's what you retained at the end of last year. Two separate things.
and then Dan, what's this calculated capacity?
That's how much, if you have surplus funds at the end of the current year,
Yeah,
that's what your threshold is gonna be to retain going into next year. If you have anything, you've had all of this current year's retained fund balance still left over, if you didn't vote to commit any of it,
okay,
you could retain an additional 83.
okay,
If you spent any portion of this year's retained funds,
in that.
So by using some of it in this way, we're reducing our capacity to retain in future.
No, you're reducing your existing retained fund balance, which would increase the amount that you can build towards that capacity of 350 days. It's on that end.
Okay. I think I get that. I'm glad he's here.
I know,
I don't really get it
I know.
personally.
The bucket's growing bigger.
Yeah,
That's good.
The bucket has grown, right? But the level of water, amount of water in it hasn't. You're considering reducing the amount of water in the bucket, which would thereby increase the amount of water you can add to the bucket at the end of this year.
and
And I'm not-
historically, Stephanie, we've not had leftover funds.
Right.
Since prior to COVID, you're lucky if you had $40 at the end of the year. I mean,
Is that?
like,
not
this is
what
like-
we've always had,
no,
right?
we've not always had some,
Right.
this amount, because of COVID. So that's the other thing that you have to think about, is that number is gonna be decreasing going forward.
Yeah, eventually we'd like to present, you're starting that much in the hole every year too, so that's a little bit tough to maintain.
Yeah,
I get it.
so would you guys be comfortable with half of that?
Yeah.
Half of the 234,
I'm sorry.
right? 15 or, yeah, it was.
117 is how.
To start, and then you can see what, if you wanna shift anything. At the next meeting.
Because
half
I'm
of-
thinking about this person comes back in. Where are we gonna get the money?
So the $117,124.27 is roughly half, is that what I said?
Do we
Roughly.
make it round?
I know.
That's pretty.
Should we just do it?
That.
How about this? In the interest of not going out to 9 decimal places, I'm gonna superimpose, and mind you, they haven't, that's taken out, of it, right? But I'm gonna put $118,000
Okay,
in that revenue page.
yeah.
Our
That sounds
estimate
good.
for next
I like
year.
that. Yeah.
Your fund-
Even 118, yeah.
No,
That-
no,
that
Wait, listen.
changes the numbers at the bottom
Without cuts.
without cuts,
Yeah,
right? Down to $1.58. See where it says the second to last line, dollar change in net assessed valuation?
yeah,
That number is now, with 118,000 over the top, that number is now $1.58.
Then that's without the cut.
Without cuts.
Appropriation.
So if it's helpful, $100,000, whether it's an increase in revenue or a decrease in expense, is 1% of this budget, because this budget, current year's budget is 10 million and a little bit of change, right? So $100,000 is 1%, right? So, for example, you want to come back with a 3%, that's going to be cutting, reducing expenses by about $450,000.
Hmm.
But you're going from 7.4 to 3, 4.4% reduction on a $10 million budget, $450,000.
Frank made a motion to take the 118,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of taking $118,000 from the retained fund balance, putting it towards our next year's revenue, thank you. Stake, if I say aye, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay. Good,
Thank you for the direction.
all right, thank you.
Sorry.
Did everybody sign the,
I do need to schedule another board meeting.
oh, yes,
That-
please, let's do that.
Yeah, so I'm looking at your budget hearing is on the fifth, I believe.
Yes, that is the 5th.
Yeah, so the 29th. This gives a week to approve it, and then I have to get all the paperwork ready. Handouts.
At the same time, Sonia?
Yes.
6
I'm
o'clock,
hopeful to-
Tyler. Sorry,
That you'll have the,
6.
And that is a regular board meeting or what?
yeah, regular board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's because usually at this,
It's an
meeting,
additional board.
they would have given us a revised budget,
Right,
but we don't really have that this time, because I don't think we gave them enough guidance last.
And you will have the results.
And we're hopeful
And
that
we're
by
hopeful
then,
that we will have the CBA. All
6
right,
o'clock.
6 o'clock. Here. We need a motion. to
since,
go in-
since we happen to have, Sarah Crane here, do we know if Sam can come on the 29th?
Sam said he can come.
Okay,
You'll let him? I talked to him.
okay.
I got that.
Our
Gotcha.
calendar was clear, but.
Yeah, yeah. He said he was available. I talked to him today.
So you're doing better than me.
All right, so we need a motion to go into non. All in favor of going into non-public? Thank you very much for coming and your input.
Don't forget my dog.
Yeah.